I'm in this book right here, and we are at part 4, story 4, Trouble in the Camp. There's no illustration right here. Okay? As Moses strode to the camp, his face aglow from the wonderful time he had spent with God on the mountain, his eyes blazing with anger at the sight of the golden calf. The people fell back from him in awe. Those who had been dancing around the idol ran to find clothes to cover themselves. They were all afraid. They knew they had done wrong. Sheepishly, Aaron came forward. "What does this mean?" demanded Moses. "I left you in charge. What did they do? What did they do to you that you brought so great a sin upon them?" Aaron hardly knew what to say. "Don't be angry with me," he said. "You know these people are set on mischief. They came to me and said, 'Make us a god. Make us gods, which shall go before us.' For this Moses, the man who brought us up from Egypt, the land of Egypt, we don't know what has become of him." So they were really, really bad. It was a lame excuse and shows how much weaker Aaron was than Moses. It showed, too, how little the people really understood God and the commandments with 6 weeks before they had promised so faithfully to obey. "What about the idol?" Moses said. "How did it come to be there?" Aaron explained. The people had brought gold to him and said, and then added, "I will cast it into fire and then come out. I cast it into the fire and there came out a calf. But the idol doesn't just come out of the fire." Aaron knew better than that. God does not work a miracle to make an idol. God does not work a miracle to make an idol. Somebody had to make a mold and to pour in the molten metal. This was no accident, but deliberate, shameful sin. "Light a fire," Moses demanded. They did, and when it was hot, he threw the golden calf into it. He let all the people see their poor little make-believe God melting away. When the metal had cooled, he called for the hammers and set men to work beating it out into paper-thin sheets. The whole camp heard the noise, and everybody watched as the gold spread out ever further and further under the endless rain of blows. Bang, clang, bang, clang, bang, clang, bang, clang. Hour after hour the beating went on. Israel would not soon forget what God thought about idols. When the gold had been beaten as thin as possible, Moses called for grinders to be brought. The a big stones, the big stones that the people were using to grind their corn. They watched in amazement. "What's he doing now?" they asked. "Grind gold?" Just that. He broke up the paper-thin sheets into pieces and gave them to the men with the grindstone. Now grind, he commanded. Grind. Around and around, around and around and around went the great stones as the metal was crushed into ever smaller and smaller fragments. How long shall we grind? Asked some. Grind on, Moses said. Moses insisted. And grind they did until the gold of the golden calf had become nothing but a pure fine dust. Probably the people expected that having destroyed the golden calf was completed, Moses would just throw the dust away. But no, he had the grinders gather it up and put it in a bowl. Then he strode toward the place where the stream of water poured out of the rock at the base of Mount Sinai. The people followed, frightened and wondering. Oh, I know what's going to happen because I thought this was an interesting story too. Then they saw Moses cast some of the gold of dust into the water, and then more and more, and the water turned red, as it does when gold mixed with it. Suddenly a cry of alarm arose. See, I knew what was going to happen. And here is they're melting the golden calf for the Hathor. Suddenly a cry arose. Blood, they cried. The water turned to blood. Drink, commanded Moses. Everybody drink it. They came and stooped, drank the blood-red stream. The time they had come for a showdown. Things could not go on like this. The rebels might take over the camp and spoil it all that God was trying to do for Israel. They must be punished severely and at once. So Moses stood at the gate of the camp and cried, "Who is on the Lord's side?" It was an exciting moment. Would, would everybody answer? Was anybody on his side? There was a stir in the camp. People came running. Old men, young men. "We are," they cried. "We are on the Lord's side." The there first to come were the sons of Levi. Moses told them to take their swords and go through the camp from the gate to the gate, slaughtering the rebels, not spare even one. It was a sad hour. It was a sad, sad hour. 300 people were killed. 3,000 people were killed, all whom had passed through the Red Sea and expected to go to Canaan. Now they were dead. What a price they paid for worshiping a golden calf. Oh, I remember this story. I remember bits and pieces, but he did say at the elaborate. So this does have a warning on it, and I'm going to have to remember that. And that was part 4, story 4. Now we're going to go to the next one, and that was interesting. A little graphic, but it's interesting. You got to think, this is a book from 1954, and they were doing superheroes and the beginning of the golden age of comic books. So let's see what happens.